Hello and welcome to this. This is the third game of the Zlo versus Blackheart Best of 7 series, and today we're going to see a little bit of action go down on Open Zeta. Now this is a little bit of an older map. It has been around for a while, but it hasn't been played a whole lot. I think it was a ladder map some time ago, but let's go in and have a look at how our players are going to get on in their initial build. So in the top we've got Blackheart in his standard purple colour. He has opted for Cybran for this map, so we're probably going to see a bit of land spam out of him. We can see that he has thrown down a first land factory. He is going to grab those mixes and, well, actually P-gens, and then another land factory, so we can see that there's probably a high chance of land spam. And down in the bottom right hand corner we've got our beloved Zlo, and he is in green and UEF. So he is throwing down his first land factory, he's getting the power underway, and then he will start grabbing mixes. Of course, the mixes are a little bit sparse on this map. You can see that there are only 2 next to Zlo in his initial build, and he will have to walk a little bit for his ACU to be able to grab those, so we're probably going to see engineers more than anything going out to get them. And we need our engineers out. We're going to grab some reclaim, and there is a Hydra out front as well, which they will be getting as soon as they can to give them that little bit of power boost. So we can probably expect a slightly light power build in the hopes that they can grab that Hydro in a couple of minutes. We can see now that Blackheart is getting his third PGN underway, and then he'll be going for that second factory, and we can see he's supplementing the power with a bunch of manual reclaim orders. He's getting in there and he is going to be grabbing trees, converting those into energy, and that's going to help him get his build underway. Do we have the same sort of activity for Zlo? Well, actually I don't think we've got quite so much manual reclaim. Well, I'd tell a lie, because there is a whole stack of it there, and those trees will all be shortly disappearing into Zlo's bank, and that's going to help him with his build. And we can see he's actually queued up an air factory, so he's going third air, so he's getting his 2 land factories down, and he's starting to get a little bit of, well, labs out, so he's going to go and try and harass those expanding engineers. And of course they are extremely critical on this map because there is not a lot of mass to be had. Blackheart does currently have a couple of engineers out the front, and they are as yet undefended, but there will shortly be an ACU right there, and that will be able to kill any labs that come by trying to snipe out engineers. So a little bit of micro will be required there from Zlo to be able to have an impact, and we can see that Blackheart actually has not yet put down any land forces. So there's, well, a single Mantis. He's got 1 Mantis out, which will actually be able to take out a couple of labs that Zlo is putting his way. So he's got 1 Mantis out, and have we got any more plans for factories? No, and that will be because there is just not enough mass quite yet to support it. They've got the 4 core mixes, which is not really core because they are so spaced out, and then the engineers are biting into all of this reclaim. So we're probably going to see a little bit more. There we go, there's the Hydro that we did expect, and we've actually got some air going down as a result of that. So it looks like Blackheart might be going to try and make use of bombers, although this is a very, very close map, and there's maybe not quite so much opportunity to get the bombers underway, and he probably doesn't want to sacrifice the land spam in order to get those up if it's not going to make that bigger difference. We can see that there are a bunch of labs heading across the map, and they are, well, assisted by a scout, so that's going to give them radar coverage, but they're going to have to be careful of that Mantis, because that Mantis there has got enough firepower to deal quite handily with labs. And we've got up the side some more, so the nice little assault there, but this time we've actually only got a scout escorting that engineer. That does mean that Blackheart will be able to see those guys coming and pull the engineer out of there and hopefully save him. He's got a Mantis coming up in the back, so he's probably going to be able to get in there in time, but actually maybe a little bit of a misstep there from Blackheart. But now he has spotted, so he didn't pick it up on radar, but he did pick it up when that scout died, probably when he heard the fire, and that engineer is taking a back road to try and get to safety, and he will be defended by the Mantis that is coming up. So we've got 3 labs here, and they are detected, and Blackheart has moved that Mantis into position. So it looks like Blackheart just playing a little bit of game of cat and mouse and just trying to make sure that Zlo can't get in behind, and we can see that Mantis moving around. So definitely just trying to maneuver their guys into position so that they can do a little bit of damage. And it does actually mean there's an engineer out here from Blackheart, and that has completely skipped by that raiding party, and he is actually going to be able to come down, and we can see he's got a build order to grab that mix, and that is going to be a little bit of a net win for Blackheart, because over here on this side Zlo hasn't been able to secure quite the same amount of territory so far, and that is reflected in the scoreboard, because right now Blackheart is sitting on 17 mass per tick and Zlo on 13. So we see another advantage to Blackheart in the eco game, and a couple of shots managing to get onto the mix now, but that Mantis is hanging around in defense, and those labs are not going to last too long. They actually come within range of the Mantis now. We're going to see three labs against one Mantis, and boom goes the Mantis. So nicely done there for Zlo, managing to micro around a little bit, save a few HP, and we've got 3 HP on one and 27 on the other, and he's actually not hanging around to take out their mechs, so he's decided he's going to take the advantage. Maybe he knows that the area was only defended by that single Mantis and that he needs to get in there. Unfortunately, no, those labs are just going to stand still and shoot nothing. So we can see the ACU for Blackheart being quite aggressive again, and he is coming right up the centre, and he is going to run smack into those 3 labs and dispatch them very, very easily, and that is going to be a pretty secure hold for the centre. So Blackheart actually doing a fantastic job of securing the area with hardly any units, so very much on top of his prediction game and being able to outplay the raiding parties for Zlo. And there's a bomber out now as well, and that's targeted that lab, so that lab is not long for this world, especially because he is not being microed. We've got one more coming up this way, so well, it looks like Zlo was able to deny that one mix, and he's slowly managing to grab the mixes over his side of the map, but there's still a couple here in the centre, and that does mean that he is a little bit behind. He's currently sitting 6 behind Blackheart, which is more than enough to run a whole extra land spam factory, so that is going to give a little bit of an advantage over a little bit of time to Blackheart, and Blackheart managing to capture the centre. There was also a bit of reclaim in there. He's grabbed that with the ACU, and he's going to head down, and well, it looks like he's going to use one of those expanding engineers to grab that second mix, so that just puts Blackheart a little bit further ahead, still sitting on 23, just jumped up to 25 mass per tick, and that's compared to the 17 of Zlo. So now sitting on 8 mass advantage, so that is now 2 whole land factories worth of spam production that Blackheart has, and he's also got air control. There's a really fine pack of interceptors out for Blackheart, and there's a couple here for Zlo, but this big squad is able to easily deal with what Zlo has, and that's going to mean that Blackheart is free to use bombers against Zlo, and Zlo will have to throw up some static AA just to try and ward off those bombers, but it will put an immense amount of pressure on the expansions, and that's exactly what we see here with a Jester, and that Jester takes out that engineer before that mix gets finished. There is a factory online, and we should see that factory switch over to AA momentarily, but at the moment it is building engineers, and engineers have exactly 0 DPS against Jesters, so that is not going to work terribly effectively. And it actually looks like he has pulled the Jester away, and he's going to work on the next spot. He would do very well here to come and take out all these engineers, because they are currently grabbing quite a bit of reclaim for Zlo, and that's going to be supplementing Zlo's income. And we can see just the amount of air that Blackheart has in this game. This is very quickly turning against Zlo. The one saving grace that he may have is this T2 air factory that he's managed to cobble together. They are sitting on 600 power each. They've just ticked over to 600 power, so they are very much even, but Zlo has managed to pull enough of his power into a T2 air factory upgrade. Unfortunately, with the amount of air control that Blackheart has, well, there's actually a 7 or so interceptors there and another 4 over here, so it's probably pretty even right now. Blackheart may have to step up his air game, and we can see those 2 factories working hard, and quite a lot of assistance on those guys as well, so they're going to be working quite hard to overpower Zlo's air, because it looks like Blackheart, well, he probably doesn't need to rely too heavily on the air, but he does want to make sure that Zlo can't make use of it. So he's going to need to keep enough air production in play to stop Zlo from getting the upper hand, because Zlo does of course have that T2. He can, well, because he's UEF, there aren't any Corsairs that he might be able to use to snipe effectively with. The Janus, not always the most effective at sniping, so we'd probably have to see a gunship snipe for Zlo. So Zlo is probably thinking about trying to gain enough air control to get a gunship snipe, which is probably why there are a whole lot of interceptors near Blackheart's ACU. So Zlo now just trying to deal with this pesky raid. There is a decent number of Mantis there, but they can't do anything against the gunships that are harassing him. Now, he definitely does not want to land his interceptors there. He needs to pull those up pretty quick before they start taking fire. and we can see those gunships are there. Well, they're now able to take out that entire squad of Mantis without much loss at all. It looks like this engineer may go down if that Mantis keeps walking. Well, it's within range now and is going to go down. So Zlo being able to deny those raids a little bit, which actually gives Zlo a little bit of an advantage because there is reclaim. If we go down and have a look, we can see there's a bunch of reclaim there, and now there's an engineer pulling that up, and that's going to give Zlo a little bit of a helping hand in the eco game. Unfortunately for him, the eco has tipped heavily in Blackheart's favour once again. He's sitting on 39 mass per tick to Blackheart's, to Zlo's 21. 17 now. That is not looking like the best eco game differential that Zlo could have hoped for, so a little bit problematic, and we can see that that focus on air from Blackheart while Zlo has been putting together some gunships is now starting to cause problems. There are 3 gunships from Zlo, and that means that there are a lot of interceptors that he hasn't been able to build while he's getting those together, and that means that Blackheart has taken the upper hand and a massive squad of interceptors easily able to dispatch the air forces that Zlo has. So now it is definitely looking like Blackheart is closing in on Zlo. He has got twice the mass income. He doesn't have a huge number of land factories going on. Let's just have a quick look at what he's doing with his mass. Well, there's a little bit in the bank. He is not floating a little bit, but he's looks like probably just dumping most of it into air because he knows he has the upper hand. He really just needs to make sure that Zlo can't get rid of the air that Blackheart has produced, and that will mean that Blackheart is able to just outproduce and win the game. We can see now a direct assault over the air above Zlo's base. It looks like Blackheart is really intent on getting rid of any air power that Zlo might have, and there's a decent fight going up. There's a little bit of static AA assisting them, and it looks like Blackheart's actually going to have to pull out without taking out all of the air. So Blackheart just not quite able to capitalize on that big squad of interceptors that he had. And what is this? This is a cheeky drop, and where is he going? Straight down here to try and pull up some of the reclaim field. So he's trying to remove that advantage, and a nice spot there from Zlo. And he has, well, he's got a pillar. No, that's just a striker. He's not shifted to D2 land yet, and a couple of bombers. So those bombers really need to make sure that those engineers are vaporized, and the striker will probably get it. Just one more. There we go. So he's managed to take out the engineer and deny that mass removal from Blackheart, but another big pile of Mantis are coming his way, and there is a T1 PD up, and that's going to help deny the area. That's quite effective against Mantis because Mantis can't shoot over the walls particularly well, and that'll guard these little guys here which are trying to pull up a little bit of reclaim. They must be trying to grab as much power as they can because Zlo definitely needs more power for that air game, and we can see another air engagement coming over here, and it looks like Blackheart has actually switched up to gunships as well, so we can see some renegades out there for him, and it looks like because he's switched over to those renegades, well, Zlo has managed to outproduce him in interceptors. So while that T2 upgrade has happened, Zlo has managed to get the upper hand once again and get just a little bit more. That gunship is heading in towards the base, trying to do a little bit of damage before it dies, but it doesn't get too far, and that goes down. So a little bit more reclaim there for Zlo. Now Blackheart does have to be careful he doesn't leave too much reclaim on the ground for Zlo, because that will make up the differential. If everything that Blackheart is earning is being dumped on the ground in front of Zlo's base, then that's going to be a problem. And we can see he's managed to get engineers in here really nicely, and those guys are going to be pulling up, and because they're an attack move out of this factory, they are going to have massive reclaim range and be very effective there for Blackheart. And well, he's got some Mantis there to assist, which just take out the engineers for Zlo and just help deny that mass a little bit. So Zlo sitting on 21 mass per tick, 48 mass per tick for Blackheart, so we're still seeing just a massive differential in the air in the eco game. We probably don't want to have those interceptors landing quite there next to a bunch of Mantis, but we'll probably forgive Zlo in this case because he's just so busy trying to fend off all of these assaults coming his way from Blackheart. There is a T1 PD here. It would be nice to see a little Medusa heading out this way and just take that out, and an engagement in the centre, but unfortunately for Zlo, that is heavily in Blackheart's favour, and that is going to simply dump a little bit more reclaim on the field and not really yield a lot. We can see what looks to be a little bit of a snipe here. So perhaps Zlo has realised he's got the upper hand in the air game. He's got a really decent number of interceptors. Let's just quickly try and get a count on that because there's a very tight cluster there. 27 for Blackheart, and if we jump over to Zlo, he has got 31. So very even. If there's, well, those gunships don't want to go out unassisted. They are heading out, and in come a pile of interceptors. He does not want to lose those gunships unnecessarily, and that would be a little bit of a shame because, well, he's actually managed to bring it over T1 AA, which is enough for Blackheart to think twice about using his Air Force, and of course there is a bunch of interceptors floating in as well. They do want to be careful they don't run over static AA of Blackheart's, and these guys are perhaps at a little bit of a stalemate in the air game. Let's just check in with Blackheart's base and see what he's got planned. He's going down T2 power, he's got one down already, so he's a little bit ahead. He's 1.5k power income compared to the 1k of Slow, and he is pushing very hard on the factories there, so a lot of assistance going down on those air factories. So it looks like right now air is the name of the game, and there is not a lot of land forces to be had. It looks like Slow did push down past, probably skirted right around that PD, and he's trying to do just a little bit of damage. He takes out a single mix, and he's going to take down that anti-air turret, but there is a renegade out there for Blackheart, and he is going to dispatch those strikers in no time at all, especially when assisted by that T1 PD. So definitely a need for Medusas in here, and we can see exactly what we were hoping for. A Medusa coming right here, taking out that PD and letting them advance a little bit slow. Does need to get his air into there if he's able to proceed, because he doesn't want those units to die to renegades as they come in. Now this is a very, very effective pile of gunships here for Slow. So he's managed to get a really good air force online. Looks like Blackheart is now intent on taking those out. He recognises the threat, and he's going to try and get in there and just make sure those gunships die. And they're actually going to fly right over Slow's ACU on upgrade, so we'll see. There doesn't seem to be anything snipe ready on Blackheart's side of the map. There is no cluster of gunships, there is no TAC missiles, so it looks like Slow is probably a little bit safe for the time being, standing stationary. But he does need to make sure he keeps on top of that interceptor play, though, well, it looks like Blackheart might have the upper hand a little bit. He is now sitting on 64 interceptors, so that is serious production for him, and Slow sitting on only 40. So it looks like Blackheart has switched up to massively try and outproduce the interceptors. We can just see the stream of them coming out of this factory, just a horde of them, because there is so much assistance on that factory, and it is of course T2. And that is going to be able to push everything out really quickly. So Blackheart definitely playing for air superiority here. He's got those 60, 70 interceptors by now, and there are, well, that's a really good crowd of gunships, but they are going to be able to need to get through this interceptor screen, and Blackheart's ACU is all the way back here. That's a long way to go for a crowd of gunships when there are this many interceptors in the way. And we can see some scouts going up for Slow. He's obviously thinking about getting his snipe game on, but he will also be seeing just the sheer number of interceptors that Blackheart's managed to put together, and that is going to be a real problem. Slow must be focusing now on getting, well, no, he's got gunships coming out of all factories, so that's why he's falling behind in the air game, because he's just not producing any interceptors at all. He's going to be hoping that he can get past, and, well, if he can distract these interceptors long enough for in another area of the map, he will be able to sneak those gunships around, and it looks like that is exactly what he's doing. He's going to sacrifice his interceptors, he's going to bring them away. They're all flying directly away. Well, no, they need to be flying to the top right hand corner of the map just to try and make sure that they can pull those interceptors away. And here we go, he's doing it again. He's pulling his interceptors away. Is he going to be able to pull them away for long enough to get that sniper on? This is going to be really, really interesting. Blackheart is seeing, he's flying over mixes now. There's a few interceptors in the way, and Blackheart is responding. So Blackheart bringing the entire interceptor force back. It does mean that Slow is able to pick off a few of those. How long can that ACU last? Of course, Cyber ACU is sitting on 13.5k HP. Huge crowd of interceptors coming in. How long can those gunships last? This is going to be very, very close. Down into the yellow, 9,000 HP, 8,900. There are just so many interceptors in the area for Slow. I'm not sure that they have got quite enough, and a shield for Blackheart. So shield goes down, and that shield is going to be able to last long enough to take out those, well, to absorb that gunship fire. The shield goes down. He's still sitting on 7,500, and he's going to clean down another shield. So Blackheart able to fend off that snipe. He is not able to, well, he doesn't let Slow get through. The entire array of gunships is now kaput, and that is that. So, unfortunately, a very, very valiant attempt at a snipe there, but it just didn't pull off, and I think that has expended so much of Slow's eco. He's going to have a very, very hard time coming back from this. He's now sitting on 33 income to 52 mass income. He's got a little bit of land force on the field, but Blackheart is slipping by. He's getting past. He is coming around. He is, well, he's going to run into PD, and there are only Mantis in that mix, so that's going to be a bit of a problem, and that will get stopped because there are no Medusas. And, well, that is that. Well, okay, so Slow managing to push up a little bit in the centre here. He has been quite aggressive with his ACU. He's throwing down a bunch of T1 AA. He knows that he is well behind in the air game now, so he's going to have to make sure that ACU doesn't get sniped by gunships from Blackheart. But well, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. There is a T2 transport there for Zlo. I'm just not sure that he can use it now because there is just such a ridiculous advantage to Blackheart in the air. We can see Zlo moving in with his ACU, so he's decided that he's actually going to have to go full on land assault now, and there's a bunch of flak there as well. So that is going to put an absolute damper on any air game that Zlo hopes to bring. And, well, it looks like Blackheart's actually paused that factory, so he's throwing down some PD now, so getting some Cerberus turrets down, and that is going to be because he sees Zlo's ACU wandering on in. Now, what is Zlo going to use here? What has he got? Did he throw T2 down? Good question. That's going to be a little bit of a problem for Zlo because he just can't walk into that kind of firepower. So there are now some Corsairs popping out, and there are gunships as well, and that is going to be a little bit tough. There is a little bit of flak in the back here for Zlo, and he's throwing down a Triad. So he's perhaps trying to enter into a little bit of a point defense war with Blackheart just outside his own base. Of course, this does mean that Zlo has managed to capture a good amount of the map, and a couple of drops coming down here, so nice little bit of play, and he's throwing down some labs there and some artillery over here. Of course, these Zlo is UEF, so he's got no, he does have Medusas. What's going on? Is there a captured factory? It must be. That is a very fantastic effort from Zlo, and we've got another drop coming in here, and that is going to try and do a little bit of damage here. There must be some artillery on board. No, he's not going for that PD at all. He is just going for more ghetto gunship. So a little bit more airplay from Zlo, but it might be just a little bit late for that airplay because there is just such a massive squad of interceptors, and they are honing in on that ghetto gunship, and he drops those guys. Well, actually, that is a very interesting force there. I'm not quite sure what Zlo was trying to achieve with a whole squad of scouts because they don't have the highest damage ever. So we've got a bit of fire coming down on this, trying to be a proxy base for Zlo. He's managing to take out a Corsair reasonably effectively, so he's not in immediate danger, and he has pushed right up. It does mean he's got a lot of reclaim as well. If we just look at Control Shift and we have a look at the amount of reclaim that's floating around, there's probably enough to supplement Zlo, at least in the short term, to make up for that mass differential. I'm not sure if in the long term he will be able to do it, but he has managed to push Blackheart all the way back into the left hand side of the base, and Blackheart still holds a little bit here, but there's mostly engineers in the area and not a lot of combat units. Just a couple of mantis there for Blackheart, but it won't take too much of an effort from Zlo to be able to push through that. And we can see another ghetto gunship trying to make some moves here and not managing to have too much luck. Looks like he might be on a drop now to just get those guys on the ground and not lose them. We can see some bombers coming out from Blackheart, so it looks like he might have switched up to try and use a bit of T1 bomber action to remove this threat in front of his base, and perhaps not a bad idea because the T1 bombers will get one shot off before they die, and well, basically just suiciding, and if they can do enough damage to that T1AA, they will be able to whittle down what Zlo has got at the front there. And unfortunately, Zlo is trying to build Triad turrets in front of Cerberus, and that Cerberus is trying to just destroy that without too much problem at all, and down it goes for Zlo. So it looks like Zlo just doesn't have enough to push through, especially with a whole squad of Medusas hanging around the front here, and they of course do have stun on them, so anything they hit will be stunned, and that's a bit of a problem. And there's Vipers out as well, so those Vipers are going to be able to reach out and touch any T2 point defense that Zlo tries to put down, and that will very quickly put an end to Zlo's point defense war game. So a little bit of a problem there for Zlo, and we can see a bit more of an air engagement. Zlo trying to employ some T1 bombers just to clear this area out. Unfortunately, the Air Force for Blackheart is on the case, and they are quickly dispatching those bombers, and they're not getting a whole lot of work done. And there's actually a pretty lethal looking T1 army. There's a lot of Medusas there. Of course, Zlo can dodge around, he can micro his ACU and dodge the Medusa fire and take out a lot of those guys. It does mean though that he will use up all his AP in doing that and not have a lot left to focus on his base or his attack strategies, and we can see Corsairs going in. So it looks like we're seeing a little bit of a lack of air power now that the fire base has gone down. All of the static AA has disappeared as Zlo is coming under fire. This is starting to be a problem for him. He's ahead in map control a little bit right now, but because Blackheart has focused on eco, he is turtling up, and it just means that Slow really has got nothing that he can push in there. Right now, I think he could possibly get a tac missile snipe in if he happened to have a couple of tac launchers, which I'm not sure he's had the mass to build, so I'm not seeing any of that on the field. But in terms of ground firing capabilities, it looks like Blackheart is just that much ahead, and as long as ACU is just taking fire, there's a whole stack of Corsairs, there are T1 bombers. The loss in the air is pretty much a complete loss now for Slow in the air game, and he is just really taking fire. That ACU is getting hammered hard. He's down into the yellow, and I'm not sure that he can come back from this. He's got a whole lot of T1 artillery coming in to assist, but those artillery are just not going to be able to make the difference, and that is the end of game 3. So unfortunately, we could be looking at a 4-0 whitewash. We'll have to look at the next game to find out.